God bless you.
Thank you.
Sounds of a mother's grief.
He was my Mother's Day gift. He was born the day before Mother's Day.
On a cold Saturday night, 3 months after Jordan Green disappeared.
And I know he's out there.
Loved ones held this vigil.
Because I'm not going to give up looking for him till I bring him home.
A few weeks before Thanksgiving, Jennifer Green's 23-year-old son left work and was never seen again.
He disappeared on November 7th while leaving here.
Friends and family and loved ones and the mother of Jordan Green say they hope this vigil will bring her boy home.
He bussed tables just down the road from the home he shared with his favorite aunt.
Changed his Pampers. He's a good kid.
A high school football star in Fort Worth, he was trying to get back on his feet after a bad automobile crash.
Bring my baby home.
His family hopes someone will speak up.
Whatever condition, whatever the situation is, we just want him home so that we can have closure and all his family can have peace.
We're going to bring you home. We're going to bring you home.
Alex Schreck.
Kevin, do you have your eyes open yet? Yep, wide open.
Long before this reunion flight,
the first time you kill somebody,
Kevin Kelleher fought in South Vietnam.
There's a certain amount of innocence you'll never recover again.
Now living in Minnesota, he recently got pictures in the mail. They were from his old co-pilot, Robert Hepler.
This is Kevin there. This is myself.
Are you the guy in the middle here? And sure enough, I was.
Hepler organized this get-together, 4 friends in all, shared life experiences from a lifetime ago.
When you're diving down and they're shooting at you and pieces of your fuselage is ripping off, you think, okay, he'd pull off, go away. We don't. We go straight at it.
The 4 men who fought over the jungles of Vietnam said it's not about the war stories then or now, but about the sense of camaraderie and brotherhood.
You know tomorrow you may die together or that you may need that guy to save your life. We were close.
After ducking enemy fire, they headed home to friendly fire.
It was bad coming from the people, but the government itself didn't treat us right.
Their friendships bonded by war, Purple Hearts, and each other. Yet some scars remain.
He had a picture of his family, and I'll never forget that.
Alex Schreck, KSAT 12 News.
It is the deadliest hot air balloon crash in U.S. history. 16 people killed, and we are learning tonight that at least 4 of the victims are from San Antonio. On the left of your screen, Matt and Sunday Rowan. On the right, mother and daughter Laura Lee and Paige Brabson. Paige worked at the restaurant La Hacienda de los Barrios on the city's north side.
And the Night Team's Alex Schreck spoke with her co-workers and friends who are heartbroken over this tragedy.
Usually I always give her a hug goodbye that night, and I didn't because I was in a rush, so it just sucks. I wish I could just hug her one more time and talk to her.
The best of friends, Selena Gardea, Paige Brabson, and Jerry Zavala.
I'm never gonna see her again to like laugh with her or talk to her and tell her that I'm just so happy that I met you.
The 3 friends and co-workers were so close, they earned a nickname.
We were called the La Hacienda Trio.
All in their early 20s, they worked together, waiting tables at La Hacienda de los Barrios. They also played together, like on a recent road trip to Austin.
There was never a dull moment. Always laughing, we were always getting into something.
Their boss said he received this photo yesterday, Paige and her mother, Laura Lee, just minutes before their crash. He also said Paige leaves behind a baby girl.
It hurts. I have 3 kids. To think them growing up without their father is pretty tough. To see this baby now, Mary Lee, growing up without a mom, it's going to be real hard.
3 friends, now 2. Their once inseparable bond broken by death.
I just know I'm going to miss her for the rest of my life.
And she will always have a place in my heart because I did love her.
Her friends and restaurant management told us they're raising money to help with the expenses from the sudden deaths of Paige Brabson and her mother, Laura Lee Brabson. They said they also hope to start a college fund for Paige's daughter. From the newsroom, Alex Schreck, KSAT 12 News.
So my first office was up here in that right corner, and I shared with 2 Republicans. At the time, we were very cordial. Now it's a divided house.
We spoke with 3 men in the political know about the evolution of campaigning.
I don't think she did well in the debate at all.
We keep our country on the right path.
Former three-term state rep Eddie De La Garza.
With all this social media, it's instant.
A tech guru.
The funnier something is, the more legs it has.
And political scientist Dr. David Crockett.
I remain unconvinced that this is going to be a new pattern.
All three agreed campaigning is changing.
Now it's almost all internet. There's more television. It's quicker.
Trump is in a situation where he's trying to demonstrate what you can do with a name brand.
Tech CEO Matt Egan said Obama 2008 is where campaigning and the internet got hitched, but not necessarily political marriage made in heaven.
Has social media facilitated a free fall in political discourse? That's what some of the experts are saying.
Trends on social media, unfortunately, favor the outrageous.
Egan said politicals mine metadata to tailor speeches unlike ever before. Use buzzwords for social media bounce, even if the bounce is bad.
When somebody makes a mistake, that's what's trending.
Egan said Gary Johnson not naming his favorite world leader was mistakenly twisted into not being able to name a single leader. Lots of buzz, lots of damage.
Immediately, 380,000 people are talking about it on Facebook and it's trending. The immediacy of consequences is huge in this election because of social media.
Leading experts to wonder if politics as usual has become politics as unusual. Alex Schreck, KSAT 12 News.
I love you and I'm so proud of you. Those were my last words to him.
The Buenteo's son Rodney drowned minutes after he and his mom had their last phone conversation. He died saving 2 children that he didn't know.
What kind of man does that?
One that doesn't think about himself and always giving.
I miss him very much. Very much.
Buenteo wore many hats: Purple Heart recipient, husband, father, son, football coach. His dad, also a Purple Heart recipient and a Marine, finally visited the wall in D.C., putting his demons to rest. He said he understands his son's last sacrifice in personal battles years after the war.
When he was in Iraq and Afghanistan, he saw a lot of his men that he was responsible for, get killed, and I think that carried.
On Sunday, a benefit for the Buenteos, a brisket sandwich or a spaghetti plate. Sustenance for those pitching in, sustenance for a widow and her 2 young sons who are coping with the financial stresses that death brings alongside loss.
It's hard on my daughter-in-law because, that was my son there.
He's our hero.
Alex Schreck, KSAT 12 News.
He went to go out on the dam and he turned around and looked at me and I just told him don't. I said don't. And he just looked at me and just went out.
Lisa Buenteo described the final moments of her husband's life, saving 2 kids from drowning.
He was struggling a little, but he looked at me and took his last breath and just went down and pushed the kid out.
Marine Corps Master Sergeant Buenteo received 2 Purple Hearts during 3 tours, but they came at a cost. From brain and shoulder injuries to PTSD to survivor's guilt.
He wore that burden. Every student, every young person that he could help, he did. And that was why he went to Jay. He volunteered his time to coach.
Her husband's death came as a surprise, as did the status of Rodney's life insurance.
Unfortunately, when he retired, it didn't transfer over.
A San Antonio-based group, Heart to Heart for You, threw a benefit at this VFW, raising $5,000. A financial lifeline.
This has helped me pay for his funeral arrangements. This will help me and the boys for the next couple months until, I can do more.
The Marines' motto, Semper Fi, is Latin for always faithful, especially in times of need.
I knew. And the boys knew. Roman said, Daddy, it's dangerous, don't go out there. But that's just not in his DNA. That's just not what he does.
When duty called, Buenteo gave all, one last time.
He knew that I left him.
Alex Schreck, KSAT 12 News.
Call the medical examiner's office. Someone has been identified as David Hernandez. I dropped to the ground. Thought I was going to pass out, but I had to keep it in control. I had to drive home to my boy and tell him.
These are the faces of grief gathered to remember David Hernandez. The 29-year-old had just left his girlfriend's. He needed to get home to help his father that morning.
I had hopes for some reason that I was going to plan his wedding. And instead of that, today we just planned his funeral.
He was a son, brother, cousin, and beloved family member. His family says around 4 Saturday morning, a drunk driver drove the wrong way down Interstate 35.
And hit him head on and killed him on impact.
David's family said it's yet one more story of a loved one killed by a drunk who lived.
He never made it home. My dad called me at 8 in the morning. Where's my son? And somehow inside me, I already knew that he had left us.
Sunday, the family gathered to remember, eat tamales, and honor David's life.
He would hide the cookies from everyone. Everyone had to go and if someone found those cookies, he would hunt you down for them.
Their laughter followed by a punch in the gut that David's not coming home. He'll never again hold his baby nephew.
He had a huge smile, and he loved that boy so much. I want people to remember David Rolando Hernandez this way.
These are the faces of grief. They're now planning their lives without David.
Why did he take our boy away? You know, I saw since he was 15 years old, I saw him growing up.
Once you have more than 50,000, 75,000 bees,
can become very dangerous.
They're a little bit testy.
They were very much so. When they stung Lawrence Sullivan while he was mowing his backyard.
Them bees got me. They got me here and got me up over there.
The great-grandfather had no idea how many were up there. He only knew that he wanted them gone. That task landed in Councilman Alan Warwick's office, who found this man, kind of like a bee whisperer.
You have nothing on. Oh, I'm not afraid. Bees function on electrical impulse and pheromonal things like fear.
Who doesn't even wear a bee suit. They didn't sting him, but others weren't so lucky.
Sorry, the cameraman just got stung.
Take a look right over here behind all these swarming bees. That's a honeycomb that they pulled out of that giant hive up in that tree. They said they pull about 6 of them a day out of houses and trees all over San Antonio. But they told us you got to be real careful because if they sense your fear, you could get stung.
It tastes real good and sweet. Very good.
Although the stinging potential of 75,000 bees makes cutting the grass a little tricky, it also makes for a lot of honey.
The honey is real good. That's what made it, because they bit me and got the sweetness from me. And then they went.
Alex Schreck.
That's all you sweet and pop.
KSAT 12 News.
You don't believe you're the best fighter pilot. You're in the wrong business.
Leading the roll in on 130 gun shooting at me and got 2 in the belly.
Retired Air Force pilots Gene Smith and Elmo Baker met during Vietnam.
Run across each other in a bar somewhere.
They're just 2 former prisoners of war at this Freedom Flyers reunion at Randolph.
And Mo had hit that bridge earlier, but we hit it, there was a second time. It's downtown Hanoi.
As if being shot by enemy fire and missiles thousands of feet in the air above enemy ground wasn't enough, the worst for many of these men was yet to come.
They watched me come down.
I had a big hole in my right leg where the shin bone was.
They all had bamboo sticks and machetes and things. They were willing to chop me up in little pieces.
From meeting in a bar to bombing the same targets to years of torture.
Everybody got abject, overwhelming pain applied to them first day. Ho Chi Minh's policy. McCain had both upper arms broken. He could crank it like a Model A.
Did you know Mr. McCain?
Oh yeah, he's 2 doors down.
From the sheer amount of time spent locked up.
2,031 days.
And then?
Wife and 2 kids.
There was family.
They were 10 and 8 when I left. They were teenagers when I got back.
Finally, armistice meant it was time to go home.
Come on home, Daddy. We're ready.
Alex Schreck, KSAT 12 News.
I couldn't get over that.
Emma Nordstrom had to get rid of her horse.
My pain started coming and I couldn't handle her anymore.
The precocious homeschool teen is filled with life.
Oh, I hate that taste.
Except for when a neurological illness,
complex regional pain syndrome,
fills her with unbearable pain.
We didn't know what it was at first. Not very many people know.
Her parents, very aware that CRPS has no known cure.
I can hardly talk about it.
But there is relief, says ER doc and Clarisana founder Dr. Carl Bonnet, in the form of a generic drug more than a half-century old, But there's also resistance.
When you hear other experts or folks talking about why ketamine won't work, you need to ask yourself, is there some other economic motivator? There's a huge vested interest in trying to create a new medication that could potentially do what ketamine does, put it under patent, and make somebody a lot of money.
This Hill Country clinic is one of only 4 in Texas that treats with ketamine, mainly for chronic pain, depression, and PTSD.
It's a medication that it basically sort of disconnects the ability for the brain to feel external stimuli.
But there's a glitch in this health matrix, maybe several: lack of insurance coverage, old ketamine party drug stereotyping, and decision makers in high places.
Our health care isn't giving us what our daughter needs.
Trips for ketamine treatment have been expensive for the family. 1,000-mile round-trip drives, missing work, and hotel stays.
And this out of pocket literally break you.
But there's hope for the Harringtons.
Kaiser Permanente is offering ketamine therapy in San Francisco for their patients with severe depression.
But that hope hasn't yet found its way to the small patch of New Mexico desert where the family lives. Emma's dad, a soft-spoken man, quietly made a plea.
I would say that hopefully it never happened to your daughter.
Alex Schreck.
Our life has changed forever.
KSAT 12 News. Michael Flores joined the Army right after high school.
It was exciting.
He deployed to Iraq in 2003.
I used a 25 mic.
He spent 13 months in an active war zone.
Bullet just goes inches from your head, and all it sounds is like a bullwhip, just like double pops.
Life often measured in milliseconds.
Okay, I just got shot at.
Death the same way.
I've actually had to walk some of my brothers from being hit by an IED, covered in blood.
Even worse still, when friends die.
I heard over the radio Sergeant Calderon, Pablo, was pronounced killed in action.
But bereavement and active combat don't mix.
I actually broke down. My first sergeant walked over to me, grabbed me by my arm, and says, "Cry later, we got a mission to continue."
Later, happy to be back at home. But Flores brought war with him.
My wife looked at me and she's like, "It'll be okay. It'll be fine." I looked at her and says, "It'll never be okay."
Flores said he sought help for 10 years after leaving the military. He said medications he was getting at the VA were no longer helping. Then he said a friend told him about ketamine.
A lot of people, when I first hear about that, wow, ketamine, that's the horse tranquilizer, that's the party drug, or this sort of thing, and that's rubbish.
But it also said a lot of decision makers have never been on a battlefield.
Until you've been in a situation where you really have had a rocket land near you, or you've been shot at, there is absolutely no way to understand that, to really describe how that is and describe what the veterans are going through.
Flores said before he met Bonnet, suicide was a consideration.
Only way that you can see out is by killing yourself.
But now, says the veteran of foreign war,
I build Legos, I ride motorcycles, I go to the range, I bowl.
There's hope.
Ketamine is a bit of an antidote to take away some of that burden. I'm happy, but I want more still. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want more out of their life?
Alex Schreck, KSAT 12 News.
Now instead of a party, I'm planning a funeral. I'm burying my husband on her birthday, and that's not fair.
When Michelle Gomez and husband Oscar began dating, she was just 13. He was only 15. They'd been together for 25 years and had just been planning one of their 3 daughters' birthdays. Then, a phone call.
I was like, "What do you mean they're dead?" I said, "Are you sure they're dead? Are you sure they're dead? Are you sure? Did he just get shot? Is he okay?"
40-year-old Gomez and his nephew, Nazareth Marquez, were shot and killed outside of this West Side bar Thursday morning. Police charged 36-year-old Luis Munoz with capital murder. Michelle Gomez says she thinks her husband may have been treating his nephew to a beer. Marquez had just turned 21.
My 4-year-old is going to graduate preschool next week. And he's going to miss that too. And he was so proud.
Birthdays, a preschool graduation, even their wedding anniversary. Oscar Gomez's wife, Michelle, told us instead of planning their family life celebrations, instead, she'll be planning her husband's funeral.
Why was it worth taking 2 lives over a bad look, if that's what it was? Words being exchanged. Words don't do anything to people. I just want it back.
The nursing student, mother of 3, and now widow at just 37 years old, says she can't believe her only love was killed in this parking lot over words and dirty looks. Alex Schreck, KSAT 12 News.
I live in Africa.
Sam Childress' nickname is Machine Gun Preacher.
Is it appropriate for a preacher to have a gun and be out shooting people?
His story reads like a book or a reality TV show.
He was just a shaggy-headed brawler, fist fighter, motorcycle rider, gang member.
It even has the feel of a Hollywood movie. In fact, it was.
Desperately need your help.
I was thinking maybe I could go over there.
Africa?
He said his motorcycle gang and drug life came to an abrupt end while living in Florida in his early 20s.
I got into a bad bar fight That night, people got stabbed, people got shot. I knew somebody was going to kill me.
He moved his family to get away from danger. 2 years later, a 5-week missionary trip to Africa changed everything. Faces like this young boy alongside unspeakable tragedies.
And while I was there, I come across the body of a small child that stepped on a landmine.
Childers said he knew at that moment he'd devote his life to helping children here.
We actually have 6 orphanages. We've drilled more than 24 wells. We have built 5 schools. We feed well over 6,000 meals a day.
He's now building school number 6 while working in Ethiopia, Uganda, and South Sudan. A new TV series is out in September, and he says he's ready to do whatever it takes to keep the fields plowed, homemade toys in the hands of children, and smiles on their faces.
Everybody says what was true, what wasn't true in the movie. Well, I'm a lot better looking than Gerard, I can tell you that.